Next, I would like to explain to you about the transparency in the context of new public management. Holmstrom stated that transparency can increase accountability of an agent toward his or her principal. There were two factors that influence our modern public administration. First of all is the rise of new technology. Public want the government to be more openness and transparency by expose the information that related with their decision making publicly, so they know what government has done, and they can detect if any corruption occur. A second factor that influence our modern public administration is the adoption of new public management model. The new public management model has been used by developed countries, for example, like New Zealand and other Scandinavian countries. The ideas of transparency has been given as the core for the new public management model. This is because by increasing the transparency and be more open to the public, it also can increase the government effectiveness and efficiency within their management. In 1980s, there were many policies that we made to reform our public administration under to Dr. Mahathir premiership. For example, like the Look East policy in 1982, the Client Charter in 1993, the privatization policy in 1983, and the most prominent one is from Vision 2020 that emphasized Malaysia's goal to be more industrialized and developed countries within 2020.
Hi, my name is Nurul Anshazwani binti Salim, and I'm going to explain briefly on the most and least corrupted sector in Malaysia. So the most corrupted sector is the grand corruption, which refers when a high rank levels of official misuse their power in managing the public funds. For example, in the Sabah Water Department scandal, where the public officials allocate their tender only to their own relatives. So this is very unfair and double standard. So the next one is why judiciary body is the least corrupted sector, because we know that judiciary body are the most neutral government bodies, so every decision making they made will have to go several processes, so it's very easy to track any misconduct that happened.
National key result areas were the government specific public policy that need to be focused on certain areas. There were 7 key areas that be highlighted under the governments. One of it is by fighting corruption. Fighting corruption were put under administration of Prime Minister Department. The main focus of the fighting corruption Nkra is to improving transparency and integrity of the public administration that was circulated with many issues. There were 3 aspirations for the anti-corruption Nkra. First is by building reputable anti-corruption commission. Second is by establishing zero tolerance or policy on the corruption, and third is by increasing transparency in handling public funds. Government also established the National Integrity Perception Index and the Transparency Global Corruption Barometer that serve as indicator on the corruption within our Malaysian public sector.
So it is very challenging for the government to resolve any corruption cases because the trials always took longer time to be resolved. For example, it is due to the court's busy schedule, or maybe the offenders might have any personal problem to attend the trial, and also it might cause the witnesses to not attend the trial because of several reasons. So this will make the trials to be postponed, and usually it will take a longer time than the actual time.
My name is Muhammad Muklis bin Syasharin. We explain about the key solution number 1. Key solution number 1 is speeding up the trial. One way to speed up the trial is by set a time limit for corruption case to be solved, which is within a year a corruption case must be solved. In order to solving this case within a year, the government has created a special court only for a corruption case. This will help to solve the case, to solve the corruption case quickly without to wait their turn. And lastly is by implementing the Speedy Trial Act. In this Speedy Trial Act, the defendant must come to the court at the date and the time that has been told to them, and also they cannot postpone or delay the day of the trial.
Next, the second challenges is because light penalty was being imposed to the offenders. We can see that there are some double standards occurs in Malaysia. For example, there are one cases where a person stealing 50 ringgit, but he was being imprisoned for 10 months, while public officials conduct a corruption, but he only needs to pay the fine and being jailed for 1 day.
The key solution number 2 is strengthening and improving the law. To strengthening and improving the law, the government has implemented Whistleblower Protection Act. Section 8(1) of the Whistleblower Act 2010, for example, should be modified to remove any narrow or restriction imposed or placed on whistleblower activity to report. The Whistleblower Protection Act 2010 will be amended to provide a stronger protection to complain in the fight against power abuse. This is to guarantee that the proposed revision to Act 711 improve whistleblower protection and reduce power abuse and robbery, particularly in high-profile situations. The Act was passed to combat corruption and misbehavior by encouraging and assisting the whistleblower in revealing wrongdoing, while also protecting them from retaliation. And they're also ensuring that the information given could be truly examined. The key solution number 3 is empowering and strengthening the compliance unit. Compliance unit is the unit that has been put in each government organisation and agency to be a watchdog to watch and investigate if there is any wrongdoing in the government organisation and agencies. To improve this compliance unit, they need to be trained and given knowledge about how to use modern technology. If they can use or know to use modern technology, this will help in their investigation to know if there is any wrongdoing or corruption in the organisation. And then is set a target and national key performance indicator for each compliance units. If there is a target and KPI in compliance unit, they will work hard and then they can work more ethical to achieve the target. This will help to prevent and fight corruption.
Lastly, the key solution for challenges number 4 is Malaysian government has launched an official portal named My Procurement Portal and also Auditor General Online Dashboard. So this was done to give access to the public about any information or any procurement tender that being updated from time to time, so that the public will know about the progress of the government procurement. And then it is being suggested that the Auditor's General report to be presented in the Parliament once a year, so that the minister can keep an eye if there is any misconduct happen throughout the process.
Even there are many effort and measures that has been taken by the government to fight corruption, there are still corruption and wrongdoing happen in the public sectors. To fight corruption properly, all parties and every individual must play their role responsibly, and they must be more ethical in doing their job. If this problem and this corruption can be eradicated, the public and the society can live in more safely and peacefully.